If you have any questions at any point, I do have a section at the end that I will pause for questions, or I'll just ask if there's any, and feel free to just unmute and just go for it. We'll try to roll as free flowing as possible. But I will share my screen here and then I will get us started. Just give me a second. Get rolling. But I will get us started in a word of prayer, and then we can get going. So, Father God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the opportunity for us to come together and discuss the 2021 baseball season. It's been a long time since baseball has been played at LCS, and we just pray that you put a blanket of protection over all the players, over all the parents as we navigate the wild year that wild spring it may be. I pray that for health and safety for everyone involved in this year and all the families. In your name I pray, amen. So for those of you who have not met me yet, I am Tyler Reed. I am the head baseball coach here. My other assistant coaches aren't on the call. They're currently driving or doing another practice with another team. So it'll just be me. And this is the parent meeting. So I'm, like I said, Coach Reed. I am from Brooklyn, Michigan. I went to Columbia Central High School. I played college ball at Jackson College in Spring Arbor. I coached at Spring Arbor for 2 years before coming here as a teacher. I teach 5th grade as well. Jason Reed is our other assistant coach. He's actually my cousin. He graduated from Addison High School back in 2004, and he is a youth pastor at West Rome Baptist Church. And then we have Dan Sharp, who's helping out, and he's a LCS grad, I think class of 02-ish range. And he is a pastor at Bethany. So if you go to either of those churches, you probably know them. They're great guys. So I think I'm the only program with 2 pastors on staff. So that's a plus. We're going there. It's really weird being on Zoom and not getting any reaction. So I don't know if that joke hit or not, but I'm going to act like it did. So I'm going to start by talking first about our program purpose. So I'll just roll with that for about 3 to 5 minutes. So just some of the stuff that like our coaching goal and why we coach. And then I'll get into like the nitty gritty of like team requirements, our standards, and then transportation stuff and all that stuff. So I'm going to start by talking about the kind of like our team culture, and then I'll get into it. So I hope not to spend too much time on that. So if I go a little long, somebody just hit that little raise your hand button and I'll stop talking. But our purpose in coaching, kind of what we go at here, is our goal is to help make men. Now we understand that in their time with us, it's not like all of a sudden they're going to become these spectacular, amazing, perfect young men. But our goal is to help give them some tools to help continually better them and help them become like 1% better every day, and help them try to just have different strategies that they can use when they're done playing for us. So all of the things that we teach, all of the detail-oriented processes that we do, it comes back to this goal right here. So this is why we coach as coaches. All 3 of us are all on the same page with that. And this is our program goal. So walk out of here. It's not necessarily, I want to win 5 state championships. It's I want to make men, as I'm using baseball as the vessel to do that. So anything I do, that's the goal. And then our how for that, how we want to do that. Our team theme this year is raise the standard. So we're talking about raising the standard for ourselves, for each other, and for our program to build LCS baseball into a continual winner, into in a program that continually builds championship behavior is kind of like our thing. And then AAIT is one of our sayings for championship behavior. That's attitude, approach, intent, and toughness. Those are kind of our core values as we get rolling through the season. Those are the things that we go to most. So in practice, in the games, a lot of the times we are not necessarily dictating performance off of the outcome, whether, a kid went 4 for 4 or 0 for 4, or a kid had a terrible practice or a great practice. We're baseball wise, we're really focused on their attitude. How are they? Are they being positive? Are they bringing energy? Their approach, are they able to go at this like I'm trying to get better, or are they just going through the motions? Intent is we phrase it as it's a purpose. Are they going through things with purpose, and are they being tough? So are they able to handle adversity? So that's what we kind of used as a measuring tool. more so than batting average or ERA and all that. So when we're rolling through practice, when we're making out lineups, that's one of the main things that's considered in that. And then we do that. We are very detail oriented with the guys. And we expect them to be very detail oriented. And tomorrow, I promise you, it will not be perfect. But we have a lot of details to iron out. But over time, we hope that by the end of the year, that detail oriented approach, the guys will have a good handle on that. And then we also make them pretty uncomfortable throughout the day and throughout practices with kind of some of the things we are having them do, and the pace we're having them do it is our big thing. We like to do things fast, and we like to have pitching machines come at them with a really unrealistic breaking ball, or we like to throw really hard at them from really short distances to try to make them really uncomfortable so that the game seems a little easier. But that's the how we're trying to make men. We also do that we have leadership sessions. We have really some tough conversations sometimes. We're not going to shy away from those. And that's in a piece in the Be Uncomfortable. So if your son ever comes home pretty annoyed with me, I probably was really focusing that day on having making them and challenging them, making them uncomfortable in some way, shape, or form. The championship behavior I talked about, that's attitude, approach, intent, and toughness, like I had mentioned. Attitude, we classify as energy and enthusiasm, having emotional stability, and then focusing on getting better today. Approach is just how we go about everything. And then when I'm bringing this stuff up, I'm talking about it too in not just baseball terms, but also when we are handling our business in school. When we're walking down the hallways, when we're at home, we're trying to connect this stuff and have some intentionality with that. But we want to approach all things and be really good at things nobody really cares all that much about. That's where the details come in. So how we present ourselves, how we talk to one another, how we talk to ourselves, how we behave in the dugout, and how we carry ourselves is some of our things we're really, really focused on, especially early in the year, because it's been over a year since we've even coached. It's been over a year since anybody's played varsity baseball here. So we will be relentless in the details on that end. And not that we don't care what happens in the field, but we're really, really focused on those micro interactions that happen as the day goes on. So we want to do the little things like a champion is what we've mentioned to them all the time. And that includes how they act at home and how they act in school. So if they're acting up at home, let me know. We'll talk about championship behavior at home. Intent. So we want to have them live with purpose. Purpose is, we want to shine light for Christ in everything that we do. We want to perform for Christ. We want to shine that light in all things. We need to live with purpose. We're called to live with purpose. It's what we need to do. We want to have intentional responses with things. We want to be genuine with people. We want to be genuine with each other. With teenage boys, it's one of the hardest things in the world to get them to do is just be genuine with one another and have some real conversation and get them off of autopilot instead of like, hey, how's your day? It's good. That's the 99% of the responses I get. And we're trying to get them away from autopilot responses like that. So I want to actually know how your day's going, or I want to actually know what you think about this drill or this situation or that game. We want to have those conversations and have purpose with what we're doing. We have our toughness, which is just us getting uncomfortable. When I say toughness, I'm not saying like we're going to go out there and have this bravado about us that's like hockey, like I can get in a fight or something like that. I'm just talking about us being able to handle adversity well, and us being able to have good body language, be able to respond to those things regardless of what's going on. Because we know in baseball, we're going to have terrible umpires. We're going to have bad weather. We're going to have craziness going on. It's just going to be the way it is. And we're going to get punched in the mouth metaphorically. And we're going to have to be able to handle those things and act accordingly. So one thing we say a lot, and you'll hear us say it, is kind of so what, or win anyway. And when you hear us say that, it's really us just telling them, hey, we got to be tough in this situation. So there's a humility in being bad at things that we really value. So we never really do. We do some easy drills for mastery, but we tend to put them in situations where we want them to be successful about 30% of the time in practice so that they can come up with ways to get better in the game. And that's where we get at with the humility of being bad at something. We want them to be able to not be bad baseball players, but be problem solvers when they're out there and be able to be like, well, I've already been in this situation. How can I get myself out of it? So having uncomfortable conversations is also a skill that we really, really, really want to focus on with them. We've talked about it a lot. Our first leadership session was over communication. And then we carried that into team practice where, the guys just have to have to communicate all the time, and it makes them really uncomfortable. So these are our focuses when we talk about toughness. And then pretty much to sum all that up, our championship behavior, if you're like an Urban Meyer guy, I know that he had a little bit of a falling out, but this is something he came up with. It's our, we call it 10-80-10. And so you have above the line and below the line behavior. So we're expecting and we're holding our guys accountable to this top 10% at the very top. And that top 10% is what we call championship behavior. So it's just having this extreme ownership and living to that attitude, approach, intent, and toughness mindset. And in the middle, that's like our average behavior. So that's like where we're not really doing things too great, but we're not doing bad. We're just kind of staying in the middle. And then our bottom 10% is, that's we call losing behavior, or the bottom feeder behavior. That's where we're really not holding ourselves accountable or anybody else around us accountable. So we want to avoid complacency in the middle, and we want to be intentional every single day. And so we try to hold ourselves and those guys accountable to that. And you'll hear us say this stuff a lot. And you'll hear us most of the time when we get upset as a staff, it's going to be about some things that are in the details and things that we've talked about that are involved in the championship behavior wise. So maybe things like how we clean up the dugouts, or how we get our jobs done, how we present ourselves, what our dynamic warm-up even looks like, or catch play, all those little details. That's what we want to take care of before we can win on the field. So that's kind of like the background of our coaching. And now I'll get into the nitty gritty, but our team theme, like I said, is raise the standard. And if you don't know this place, this is McLean Baseball Stadium. So this is where the state championship is held. And our goal is, every year to win the last game. So hopefully we can end up there. It's in mid-June, and I'm hoping to play until mid-June. We have a lot of growth that needs to happen for us to be able to do that, but I'm looking forward to making those small detail-oriented changes to get us there. Are there any questions so far? Concerns? Anybody sleeping? Again, can't tell if anybody thinks that's funny or not, but I'm going to act like you all laughed. All right, so now I'll get into team expectations. So our expectations for the guys, this is what we hold them accountable to. And this is kind of like the day-to-day operations. So we expect them to be on time for everything. 10 minutes early in our brain is on time. Now our practice every day, the expectation isn't that you're 10 minutes early because of the guys rushing out. We start practice at 3:38. That's when we get started. The expectation is just that you're there before that. Be prepared. So we need them prepared with everything in practice. It's a hat. I've sent this in multiple emails, but it's hat. It's all baseball equipment. It's sweatpants or baseball pants, and it's your play call sheet, cleats, ready to go. Be respectful. We're expecting them to be respectful to their teachers at all times, to you guys at all times, to the coaching staff, and to one another. Hard conversations, even you can have those and be respectful. You can be upset about something and still be respectful. So we want to hold them to that. And then we expect them to be constantly living out our team theme of raise the standard. So we're trying to make our practices and our games different than they've really ever experienced before. And I don't mean that as far as like it's this amazing, wonderful experience. I just mean we are trying to just elevate what we do on a daily basis. So these are the team expectations. We kind of hold them to that. I've explained what raise the standard means. Those top three, those are the most controllable. You can do those things daily. You can get those things done. And that's really what we focus on. So the penalty for failing to meet these expectations we have will be left to the discretion of the coaching staff. And I don't mean to say that as like, there's this huge major penalty. Typically the first time it's a conversation. Hey man, we need to fix this. And then after that, the penalties are within practice. And if it goes beyond that, that will be communicated, but that would have to be a habitual thing that we have already had to talk about multiple times as far as, respect goes, or preparation, or being on time, or is not living up to our team standard of championship behavior. Our game day expectations. So tomorrow, this is kind of what we expect from player or parent. Players are expected to come to the game in full uniform, and this is the same thing for Friday. How they're getting themselves there. Expected to come in full uniform, so dressed, shirt tucked in, hat on, belt on, everything is on. We're coming ready to play, like we're about to jump into the third inning of a baseball game. and you need to have all equipment in that as well. So we want our guys to have all equipment ready to go. We don't want anybody to show up without that. During game, this tends to be an issue, kind of like with our dugouts. The way they're situated are right next to where all the parents are. So there tends to be some communication that happens. We just want to avoid that between players and parents, if at all possible, especially about anything about the game. We want to leave that just with them, talk about it with the coaching staff and the other players in the dugout. We don't want them chit-chatting with who's ever right on the fence line while they're waiting on deck. That's a focus time. It's a time for you to be locking in on the next at bat and getting timing with the pitcher. Parents are not allowed in the dugout. We're going to keep them out of the dugout as long as we can. But if you have like food or drink or something, feel free, just come right on in and tell us who it's for and just drop it right there and we'll get it to them. I by no means am I saying your son has to starve or can't have a drink of water because, you couldn't get to the game until 5:30 or something. Just, you can come right in there and just tap on one of us coaches is usually right there, or you can tell the nearest person, hey, can you give this to so-and-so? And they can go give it to them. Our double header expectations, because we have typically 15 to 25 minute window in between games. Players can grab food from their families and they can talk for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then we'll call them into the dugout before returning to the dugout. Sorry. I misread that. They can talk for about 3 to 5 minutes. We'll call them to the dugout. They'll get there. We will meet as a team and go over the next game while we finish up our meals. So that's a pretty important time for us. We kind of go through some of the strategies that we're going to use for the next game and all that. And we do that right in the dugout while those guys are eating. So that's a beneficial time for us. So just in that, they won't be able to hang out the entire time. They'll have a couple minutes and then they'll come in and then we'll finish our food and we'll get rolling. And we also are going to get warmed up for the next game. Any conflict you guys have? If you feel anything is going on, I want to deal with that with the player first. So have your son have a conversation with us before we talk to you guys. And it has nothing to do with the fact that, I want to avoid parents. I don't want to avoid you. I want to talk to you. I want to figure out your mindset, but I also want to get on the player's level first before we have that conversation. So what I ask of you is for the player and the coach to handle it and then give us a game to see if it has been handled, and not have the conversation with player and coach. And then 5 hours later, we also have a conversation. I would like us to try to have that hashed out. Now, there are some situations where maybe we do need to talk, and that's fine. That's situation based. This isn't an absolute, this is just the outline of the way we try to run it. Especially with playing time things, or, if you ever feel like your son's being mistreated, then that's a situation where you can come to us right away. If you ever have that, you have the ability to come talk to me. But if anything like playing time or, reps at a certain position or anything like that, or where you want them in the lineup, that should be held meet player coach first. If it doesn't get resolved, then we can have a conversation after the next contest. And some exceptions apply to that. I've gotten a lot of questions about transportation this year. For transportation, we are going with the same transportation that rules that have been had throughout the year. So this is an email I just copied and pasted on this slide from Mr. Anderson. That just goes through some things, but it says families will be responsible for providing or finding transportation to contests for their athletes. The factors considered in this decision were both financial stewardship, but also looking to reduce the amount of time that players have to spend wearing masks. I understand Friday is going to be a struggle with us playing at 10 a.m. That's really unusual, and it's late notice. We were added to that pretty late, but you are free to find a way to get your son there however you see fit according to our guidelines, and we will not be offering transportation for the foreseeable future. I'm assuming for the rest of the year. Now, we do have some long trips, but I think most of them, like Bedford's probably our longest right now. And that's not like on a Thursday. So that might be tough. I know it's midweek, so that might be tough to get people out there, but we do have some trips. So just be aware and we can make some plans. This Saturday, I will say before I get into the questions section, this Saturday, the games have been canceled. So we do not play this Saturday against Canton Prep. That game's been rescheduled, and I don't have an exact date just yet for that. I just know it's been rescheduled. I believe the rescheduled date that was sent was a single game on April 21st at Canton Prep again, but I'm not 100% sure. But that would put that game on a weekday where, again, getting there might be a little difficult. We do have a heavy schedule this season. We hit some spots where we play a lot of contests. We pretty much filled up our 3 open dates a week that we're allowed to play, and we're shooting for 34 to 36 games in our max. So it's going to be a grueling season for in some points. So I understand that travel will be a little bit of a hiccup, and if you ever need any suggestions or anything from that, feel free to reach out to me on that side of things. Also, we have yet to meet with all players, but some of your young men have come home with player development plans. They kind of look like this that detail your players' like strengths that we've seen so far this year, areas of growth, and then we put together a plan for them to go through and work through. That would be for them to do independent work. Because we have told them, hey, listen, like this is where you need to improve, but we can't always work on these things in practice. But here's some things that you can do on the side to improve in these things. Every player will come home with one, just not all players have come home with one yet due to guys being out for spring break or us having those like basketball guys join late. We kind of needed to get some team stuff done, but all players will come home with one by the end of the week. Those are just have a place for you to sign and return. And then I'll actually have it sent back with your player once I get most of them or once I get them and I've looked over them. But now I'll open it up to questions. And so there might be some talking over some people at this point because I have so many. But if you have a question, feel free to unmute and hit me because I know I haven't covered everything that you may be coming up with on the parent side. So if we have any, go ahead, fire away.
Hey, Coach, this is John Dragowski. For Friday's game, I know the first game's at 10. Yep. What's the expectations between games? The boys just hang out and watch the baseball games or?
Yep. In between, your son will be free to go depending on when we play. So you would be free to go. So we play at 10 a.m. I think the next game's at noon. And then if we win, we don't play until 4. But if we lose that first game, we play at 2. So they will be free to go no matter what. Just the time in between will vary depending on whether we win or lose that first game. If that makes sense. So just saying, if we win that first game, we don't play until 4. They're more than welcome to drive or wherever, get a bite to eat, and we'll have them come back probably an hour and a half before we're supposed to play, depending on how that game's going.
Okay.
But that's the plan for now, and I'll keep you guys posted.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? There's no way I covered everything. Maybe I did. All righty. So on that note, I'll just close us in prayer. And if you can come up with any questions on the way out, I'll stay behind for a couple minutes before I shut it down. And then feel free to send me an email, anything like that. All of your young men went home with a jersey today and a blue belt, which they'll need for the game. They'll need obviously their pants and their hat and all that. For our jersey, and every kid was given stirrups. We're not wearing stirrups that first game. We will wear them as the year goes on. And so if your son doesn't have anything, let me know as soon as possible. Everybody should have gotten something or should have gotten the amount of pants they ordered and all the other stuff. But if they didn't for some reason, send me an email. I'll get it to them as soon as I can because I have all the extra stuff. All right. So on that note, if there are not any more questions, I will close us in prayer and I'll get us going out. Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity again to meet. I pray for safety and health for players tomorrow and for wonderful weather. I thank you for all the parents and all the time that they've invested in these awesome young men, and continuing to, I hope that we can build a partnership together to continue to support them in becoming godly young men who shine a light for you in all that they do. In your name I pray, amen. All right, I'll hang out here. Feel free to leave if you can. I'll hang out here for a couple minutes and answer any questions for those of you who need to stay behind.
Hey, Coach, what time do they need to be there Friday at the game?
Friday, the plan will be for them. So we play at 10. So the plan will be for them to be there at 8:45.
Thank you.
Yep.